Hello and welcome to another day of Equation Tower work. So far, you guys have worked through levels 1 through 7. This is the beginning of level 8. And so far, every equation that you guys have encountered has had one correct answer. But that is not always the case. There can be one solution, like what you guys have done previously. There could also be no solutions, or solutions, like all solutions, all numbers possible would work. So let's explore a little bit more into that. So this is just a review of what one solution would look like. Okay, so let's go through this together. So my first priority is to distribute and to get rid of those parentheses if I can. Okay, so I'm going to be doing this in purple. Okay, so distributing is going to be in purple. So first off, I have my 9. I can just write that down here at the bottom. He will stay. Next, I have to distribute my negative to my 2 and to my negative 3. So how I do that is I multiply a negative or a negative 1 by each of those numbers. So negative 1 times 2 would end up being negative 2. And then negative 1 times negative 3, remember this is negative 3 because there's a negative out front. A negative times a negative is a positive. So I'd end up with positive 3x. All right, so that's the left-hand side of my equation. Now on to the right-hand side. I see that I have another set of parentheses. I look right outside the parentheses. I see that there's no number, but there is this negative sign. So I need to distribute my negative. So first off, I'm going to actually drop down my 6, and I'm going to drop down my 2x. And then I'm going to distribute. So negative 1 times 5 would end up being negative 5. And then my negative times x, so negative 1 times x would result in negative x. Awesome. All right, so that is distributing, and that got rid of all of my parentheses. So again, that's in purple, is distributing. All right, so next step that I know I have to do is combining like terms. So let's do that. Let's do that in orange. Okay, so now I have my new equation in purple, and I know that I need to combine all my like terms in orange. So first I'm going to look at my left-hand side, and I'm going to combine like terms. So I see I have just regular numbers, and I have an x. So I can combine my regular numbers together. So 9 minus 2, well, that equals 7. And then I don't have any other x's on this left-hand side, so I can just drop down my 3x. There's nothing to do with 3x on the left-hand side. Okay, now I look at my right-hand side, and again, I see I have x's and I have just regular old numbers. So I'm going to first combine my regular old numbers. Okay, so I have a 6 and I have a negative 5. Remember to get this negative right there. So 6 minus 5, well, that just equals 1. And then I'm going to combine my x's. So I have 2x, a positive 2x, and a negative x. If I add those together, I just end up with 1 positive x. Awesome. And then that takes care of everything on my right-hand side. So now I just did combining like terms in orange, and then I ended up with this equation here in orange. So my next step is to solve. So I will solve in teal, okay? And you guys are very familiar with solving. Draw my line down my equal sign. First step, I'm going to get all of my x's on one side and all of my numbers on one side. So first up, I'm going to do my numbers. So I'm going to subtract 1 from each side. If I do that, I end up with 6 plus 3x equals, and then 1 minus 1 equals 0, and I just end up with x on the right. Okay, now I want to get my x's on the same side. So I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. Awesome. Now on this side, on the left-hand side, I end up with just 6 because 3x minus 3x equals 0. And then on the right-hand side, I will end up with negative 2x, right? Because I have negative 3x plus 1x, negative 2x. All right. And then I just continue this here. To get x all by itself, I have 2x times x, I have negative 2 times x. To get that by itself, I need to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. So I need to divide each side by negative 2. Remember to keep that negative with the 2. And then on the left-hand side, I would end up with negative 3 equals x. And that is my one solid answer. So you guys should remember how to do that problem. It should look very familiar to you because there's just one answer. And so again, you guys go through these steps of purple distributing, orange is combining like terms, and then teal is just solving it. All right, so then let's try something new that you guys haven't seen before. All right, so this problem, we have no solutions, and I'll show you how we get there, okay? So it's very similar to problems that we have done before. So first step, we look at the problem and we see, do we have anywhere that we need to distribute? Well, I'm looking here and I'm seeing no parentheses, so to me that says I don't really have anything that I need to distribute out, which was our purple step before. I think that was our purple step. Yeah, no purple step. And then my next step is my orange step, which is combining like terms. So I think we can do that. So let's do that. Okay. So let's start on the left-hand side. So on the left-hand side, I have 4x and x that I know I can combine. And if I do 4x plus x, I'm going to end up with 5x. There's nothing to combine with my negative 2, so I'm just going to drop my negative 2 down. Awesome. So now on to the right side. Again, I have x's that I can combine. So 2x and 3x, that will equal 5x. And then plus 8. There's nothing to combine with my plus 8, so I'm just going to drop him down as well. All right, so that is my orange step. So that is combining like terms, and I end up with 5x minus 2 equals 5x plus 8. All right, cool. So now on to our teal step, which is just solving equations like we've been doing for so long now. So first things first, I want to get all of my numbers on one side and all of my x's on one side, right? So let's add 2 to each side. Okay. So then on the left-hand side, I end up with 5x equals, and then on the right-hand side, I end up with 5x plus 10. Awesome. So here I start to see that we have an issue. And I don't know if you guys see it yet here, but if you'll notice, we have 5x equals 5x plus 10. Okay, well 5x and 5x, no matter what we plug into those, it's going to be the same number, right? But on this right-hand side, we have a plus 10. So to me, I'm already seeing that there's going to be an issue here because these two are the same, but this right-hand side has a plus 10. So I don't see how they can equal each other. But let's play it out. So let's try to get all the x's onto the left-hand side. So then I would have to subtract 5x from the right-hand side and subtract 5x from the left-hand side. So 5x minus 5x, well, that's 0. And then 5x minus 5x on the right-hand side, that's 0. So this is 0, and that's 0. And then we just have 10. 0 on the left-hand side cannot equal 10, right? Those two numbers are not the same. They can never equal each other without like a variable, right? So therefore, this equation up here at the top has no solution because once we solved it out, 0 does not equal 10. So there is no possible solution that we could plug in for x up here to get a number. Okay. Let's move on. All right, here's another solution that we probably haven't seen before. So this one is all solutions. So this is when x can equal anything in the entire world. Let's try it out. Okay, so once again, my first step is to look to see if I have any parentheses and if I need to distribute. That's our purple step. I don't see any parentheses in this equation, so I'm going to skip our purple step and move on to our orange step, which is combining like terms. Okay, so I see, let's start on the left-hand side. I see we have 2 and -8. We can combine those together. So 2 minus 8 is -6. And then on the left-hand side, we just have a negative x with nothing else to combine it with. All right, then we move on to the right-hand side. We have, again, a -2 and a -4. Those are just regular numbers that we can add together. So if we add those together, subtract those, it would be -6. And then we just have a negative x as well. Okay, so you guys are probably already seeing something pretty suspicious about this one. They are the exact same, right? -6 minus x equals -6 minus x. All right, so that's suspicious. Let's go on to our teal step. So now we have our orange. Let's try and solve this and see what happens. All right, so I draw my line down my equal sign. I want to get all of my numbers on one side and all of my x's on one side. So let's start with numbers. Let's take this -6 on the left and add it to the right. What we would end up getting is -x equals, and then -6 plus 6, that equals 0, and -6 plus 6 equals 0. So then I just get -x equals -x. Well, whatever number we decide x is, it's going to equal itself, if you guys see that there, -x equals -x. So any possible number that we plug into this solution will work. So if it's 1/2, if it's 16, if it's 34, if it's -562,074 bazillion. I don't think that's a real number. But anything we plug into this equation will work because when we solved it out, it ended up the variable ended up equaling itself. So it will always work, every solution. Okay? So just to review, we can have equations that can be one answer, which is like what you guys have been doing. It could be no answer, which would happen if you get something like 0 equals 10 once you solve it out, because that can never happen. 0 can never equal 10 by itself. Or we can have, I'm going to do this one in purple, or we can have a solution like all solutions where we end up with something where x equals itself, and that will always be true for every number. All right, thank you guys very much.